In today's lesson, we are going to talk about mechanisms of heredity, influence of heredity and environment on behavior. The main objectives in this lesson are to understand the nature and definition of behavior, evolutionary perspective in understanding behavior, what is heredity, chromosomes and genes, what constitutes environment, and influence of heredity and environment on behavior. Let us first understand what is behavior. Behavior is the actions that an organism uses to adjust to and live within its environment. An organism's activities in response to external or internal stimuli, including objectively observable activities, introspectively observable activities, and non-conscious processes, is known as behavior. The above two definitions provide us an idea of what is behavior. It is an activity which can be observed, recorded, and measured. Let us now look at the general characteristics of human behavior. Behavior is influenced by a number of factors. It varies in complexity. The factors influencing behavior are of different kinds. Individual differences, and behavior shows individual differences and similarities. Behavior is always purposeful or goal directed, and also few others. Behavior is changeable to a large extent. Let us look at the characteristics individually. 1. Behavior is influenced by a number of factors. The behavior of a living organism is always influenced by a number of factors. Some forms of human behavior are influenced by a large number of factors, while other forms of behavior are influenced by fewer factors. Two examples of a simple form of behavior are as follows. You are sitting in your room reading a novel and suddenly your mother calls you. Immediately you leave your chair and respond to her call. Here, the factor which influences your behavior the most is your mother's voice. 2. You are walking along a road when three boys start making fun of you. Here, your behavior will be determined by a number of factors. If you are alone and if the other boys appear to be bent on giving you trouble, and if you are also in a hurry to reach your destination, you will probably ignore them and quietly keep proceeding. On the other hand, if you have friends with you and feel that you can face the situation and you are also not in a particular hurry, then probably you will pick up a fight with them. Let us understand how behavior varies in complexity. From simple behavior, which is influenced by a large number of factors, to complex behavior influenced by a large number of factors. For example, a very complex behavior may be seen in complex decision making activities, such as a judge who delivers a judgment considering a number of factors. The factors influencing behavior are of different kinds. Human behavior is influenced by a number of factors. These factors belong to different categories. Some of them are physiological and others are psychological. Physiological factors relate to the physical or biological needs, such as hunger, thirst, etc. Psychological factors relate to factors such as ideas, opinions, etc. Physical surroundings, the nature of events, family and friends, the large society, and even the overall culture and social background influences our behavior. Thus, we may see that behavior is influenced by two large sets of factors, those belonging to individual and those belonging to the environment. The former can again be classified into bodily or physiological and the psychological. The environmental factors can be classified into immediate and direct and remote and indirect. Next, let's talk about individual differences. People differ in their physiological and bodily conditions, in their past experiences, in their abilities, in their background, and in short, everything. Human behavior is influenced by these factors, and these vary from person to person, and even from one group of people to another group of people. Now let us talk about how behavior shows individual differences and similarities. There is also a considerable degree of similarity in behavior among people. For example, if a dust particle falls into a person's eye, he tries to remove it. This type of behavior is universally found. Also imagine a situation where the school bell has just rung and a street vendor is selling some eatables. Some students may buy it even though he appears to be not so clean, but some students just comment, "Ah, he's so dirty, I don't want to buy anything from him." Thus, we find not only individual differences but also group differences. Next, behavior is always purposeful or goal oriented. Human behavior is always purposeful and one's actions are always directed towards some goal or the other. A boy sitting and studying suddenly gets up and takes a glass of water. Here the goal is to have a glass of water and the purpose is to quench his thirst. On the other hand, imagine the same boy sitting and studying. His younger sister goes around him making a noise. The boy tries to move away from that place. Here, the purpose is to avoid the noise and disturbance, and the goal is to reach a place where this noise is not heard. We can also infer that the purposes are more constant and stable, while goals can change and one can choose from alternative goals. Behavior is changeable to a large extent. Yes, a number of factors influence human behavior. It is this very characteristic which helps people to adjust to new surroundings. An Indian migrating to a foreign country very soon acquires new ways of behavior. He learns a new language and new ways of dressing. These changes are the result of his experiences. Such type of changes which result from experience are generally referred to as results of learning. Much of human behavior is a result of learning. A child learns to behave as an adult. A person newly joining an office learns to work in the office and learns to behave like others. Let us look at the evolutionary perspective of behavior. All biological organisms have evolved over millions of years, and environmental factors have played an important role in shaping the organization and functions of their nervous system. Natural selection, the process described by Charles Darwin to account for evolutionary change, plays an essential role in shaping both behavior and the brain. Darwin's principle of natural selection states that it is those variations on inheritable traits that most contribute to an organism's survival, and these are passed on to the next generation. The field of behavior genetics combines the methods of genetics and psychology to study the inheritance of behavioral characteristics. This was given by Plowman, Owen and McGuffin in 1994. We know that many physical characteristics such as height, bone structure, hair and eye color and the like are inherited. Behavioral genetics are interested in the degree to which psychological characteristics including mental ability, temperament and emotional stability are transmitted from parent to offspring. Evolution of behavior. Any examination of behavior must include not only proximate causes of the behavior such as the firing of the spinal motor nerves that drives the knee-jerk reflex, but also the ultimate causes. Ultimate causes of behavior explain behavior in its evolutionary context, whereas proximate causes explain how a behavior is generated. Ultimate causes help us to understand why a behavior exists in the first place, that is, why it evolved by nature selection. Consider, for example, male aggression. The proximate causes of aggressive behavior are reasonably well understood. For example, testosterone is correlated with aggressive behavior, and damage to subcortical brain structure can reduce or potentiate this aggressive behavior in animals. Recent evidence indicates that serotonin is important in aggressive behavior, and olfactory cues, at least in rodents, appear to mediate male aggression. Moreover, social context powerfully modulates the nature and pattern of aggressive behavior. During the breeding season, male red deer and elephant seals display to and attack other males that approach them but do not attack sexually receptive females. But why do aggressive behavior and the neural and hormonal systems underlying this behavior exist at all? What are the ultimate causes of aggressive behavior? From an evolutionary point of view or functional point of view, aggressive behavior in breeding males is adaptive. It confirms reproductive success, promotes the perpetuation of genes that control aggressive behavior. In reindeers, aggressive males with receptive females, and thereby they increase the proportion of males in subsequent generations that carry genes for aggressiveness. Unaggressive deers are less likely to secure mates, and their genes become poorly represented in the population. This does not mean that the male aggression is good from an ethical or moral point of view. Rather, the behavior is adaptive in an evolutionary context. These traits are not limited to behavioral tendencies such as aggression, but they also include physical traits such as body size and coloration. Behavior genetics, also called as psychogenetics, the study of the influence of an organism's genetic composition on its behavior and the interaction of heredity and environment as they affect behavior. The question of the determinants of behavioral abilities and disabilities has commonly been referred to as the nature versus nurture controversy. Now, what is heredity? Heredity, the sum of all biological processes by which particular characteristics are transmitted from parents to their offspring. The origin of every human life can be traced to a single cell called zygote. It is formed by the union of sperm and ovum. The sperm and ovum will contain 23 pairs of chromosomes, out of which one will be sex determining chromosome. Females will have 23 pairs of XX chromosomes, males will have 22 pairs of XX and 2 single represented as XY. X chromosome from mother and Y chromosome from father will lead to male offspring. X and X from both parents give rise to female. In each chromosome there are innumerable genes. These genes are the real determinants of heredity characteristics, which passes on from one generation to other. At the time of conception, the genes from chromosomes of both the father and the mother fuse together and determine the traits of the offspring to be born. The physical characteristics such as height, weight, color of eye and skin, social and intellectual behavior are determined by heredity. Differences in these characteristics are due to the change in the genes transmitted. Fraternal twins also differ from each other because they are born out of different genes. However, we find more resemblances in identical twins because they are born out of monozygotic. What is meant by environment? In simple term, environment means the society, the fields of society and even the whole world. But here the word environment is restricted to mean the environment within the mother's womb and just born, as well as the environment around the individual. Like heredity, environment also has been found to play a very important role in determining the behavior and personality development of an individual. The environmental influences are those which act upon the organism at the early stages of development, that is, before and also after birth. Environment includes all the extrinsic or external forces, influences and conditions which affect the life, nature, behavior, the growth, development and maturation of living organisms. Hence, we can say that environment means all that is found around the individual. The way that you carry a conversation, respond to failure, form relationship with others and generally behave is the part related to your genetics. But your world and life experiences also shape your attitudes and behavior. This combination of your genetics and experiences ultimately forms your identity and influences your behavior. How do genes influence who you are and what you do? Genes are the instructions that dictate how a person's body is made. In the same way, that blueprints are instructions to build a house. Information from genes let the body know what characteristics a person will have, like if they will have hairy or hairless ears or a small or big chin. These instructions come from our parents. When their genes are mixed together, our set of genes is formed. This is why we often look like a mixture of our parents. Now consider the exception, identical twins. Identical twins look exactly the same because each twins share the same genes as their identical sibling. Why? When a mother is pregnant, the fertilized egg holds the mixture of genes from both the mother and the father. Occasionally, this fertilized egg splits into two eggs with the exact same mixture of genes. This results in two identical people who are similar to one another in the way they look and behave. Genes can carry instructions that can make it more likely for us to develop certain illnesses or conditions. For example, Suman and Kiran both have genes associated with obesity. Their genes could tell their body to either increase the size of their fat cells or dictate how they use the fat in their body. Release of chemicals like hormones which control hunger and appetite. These genes can also influence behavior as Suman and Kiran interact with their environment. Now let us understand how do our life experiences influence our genes. Suppose Suman is raised by wealthy parents who have access to the best healthiest food. Her parents cook nutritious meals like lentil soup and green leafy dals and limit the amount of sugar and salt and fat their daughter consumes. Then Suman learns to love fruits and vegetables and does not crave excessively salty or sweet foods. Her parents spend time to play with her and teach her to live an active lifestyle. By eating nutritious foods and staying physically active, the genes reduce her chances of developing obesity and obesity is not expressed. Kiran, however, is raised by a low income family where her parents who live in an area where fresh food is expensive. Because her parents cannot afford fruits and vegetables, Kiran eats a lot of fried and fast food, which are higher in sugar, fat and salt content. Her parents both work multiple jobs and Kiran spends her time alone in front of the television. Kiran's eating and physical activity habits enhance the expression of her genes for obesity. The characteristics, physical traits and behaviors that you are born with and what you experience throughout your life are both important. Your characteristics can impact your experiences and your experiences can impact your characteristics. In some situations, genes play a larger role in determining your behavior. In other situations, environment plays a larger role in influencing your behavior. If you had a whole different set of experiences over your lifetime, your genes may be expressed in different ways and you may have behaved differently than you do now. If Suman and Kiran had grown up in the same environment, their health behaviors would probably be more similar to one another. Is there a way to tell how much of an influence genes have on a behavior? The scientists can look at the influence of genes on behavior by using a mathematical formula called heritability estimate. Heritability estimate gives information about how much of an impact genes have on a behavior in a certain environment. Think about blood type as an example. In your group of friends, there is probably some variation in your blood types. If differences in blood types are mostly influenced by genes, heritability estimate would reflect that. Heritability estimates can range from 0 to 1. When the estimate is higher, it is closer to 1. This means that the genes have a larger influence on the behavior of interest, as it would be with the blood type. When the estimate is lower, closer to 0, it reflects a large impact of the environment on the behavior. If there was a change in the environment, the heritability estimate would change as well. There is a long-standing controversy regarding the importance of heredity and environment. Supporters of heredity say that the environment cannot change a dog into a goat. On the other hand, environmentalists are of the opinion that for the development of a plant, only seed is not important but also the environment like sunlight, manure, water, etc. Innumerable studies have been conducted on both sides. However, the results indicate that heredity and environment are independent forces. Now let us summarize this lesson. Behavior is the actions that an organism uses to adjust to and live within its environment. An organism's activities in response to external or internal stimuli, including objectively observable activities, introspectively observable activities, and non-conscious processes. These definitions talk about behavior and how it is influenced by both internal and external factors. It is evident that heredity is responsible for all the inborn traits, the instincts, emotions, IQ, reflex action, and physical traits. Environment is responsible for the growth and development of the physical, mental, and social traits. The two forces, heredity and environment, are not opposed to each other, but are complementary like the seed and soil, ship and current, warp and woof, bed and stream, etc. Environment is nothing but a process under suitable conditions to change the shape of raw materials, just as potter does while making toys of mud. Human behavior is the product of heredity and environment. Hence, both are equally important.